Welcome back to another episode of Star-Crossed. I am your host, Megan Rose, and we are here today with not only a very special guest, an astrologer, but a very near and dear friend of mine, Stevie Goldstein.
Hi.
Extraordinaire.
Oh, stop.
You are absolutely incredible.
I love you.
I love you so much. So just to start this all off in the namesake of love, we are going to be diving into Venus signs today. And I thought there was nobody better to bring on Stevie. You are a Taurus sun.
Yes.
Aries moon.
That's true. Yes.
Cancer rising.
Yes.
And Stevie to me just embodies Venusian energy. Like every time that I see her, she has some new accessory, color, style, something going on.
Wow.
And really breaks away from what I feel like Venus signs have been boxed in to be on the TikTok sphere, which is just your style. And I thought there's nobody better than Stevie to talk about how much more Venus actually is.
What an introduction. I'm so flattered. Also have to note I'm a Taurus sun conjunct Venus and Taurus too. So I'm just Venus the house down. I think Venus is just, I mean, who doesn't love Venus? It's such a encompassing planet for both just style, love, art, just it's all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Not that,
Pleasure
the
driver.
good stuff can bring complicated things, of course. Like it's never black or white like that. And I love, I'm like a magnet to Scorpio Venuses and just opposite Venus energy.
We've got each other in a chokehold. It's that axis. And really to me it signifies too, because people will talk about opposites attracting, and it's not just with lovers. It's with friends,
Yes.
It's with collaborators, it's with business partners. It makes for good family dynamics. I think any time that you are connecting with someone and hoping for a pleasure-driven experience where you're leaving laughing and joy-filled or it's a great way to get into aspect with one another.
Yeah, and I think it all depends on where your Venus is. And I know we've talked at length off mics, off recordings about how Venus has been interpreted lately in a more kind of bigger internet-y sphere. And it's been interesting as, Venus's homegirl to see her name in everyone's mouth, but in a way that feels a bit contradictory to what Venus is really about. And I think, we've talked a lot, and we'll get into it here, just as, I personally don't think astrology is here to make you basic. I think astrology is an amazing tool to help you become an even stronger individual. Yes. So unless your goal is to be basic, and that might be in your chart, we can talk about it. But
I was just going to say, we'll get into which one of the Venus signs that's most panned out for. But
look, that's some people's path, and that's okay. But overall, like having personal style and a personal identity has been like such a big conversation, and it's all been really rooting back to Venus. I mean, I just got a text yesterday from a friend, like, should I be dressing like my midheaven now? And I was just like, when will this fucking end?
It won't. Because are
we just going to go around the chart? Like,
yes.
Oh my God, I think I should be dressing like my Chiron because I want to attract people that will hurt me.
Exactly. Like, I am Sisyphus embodied. It's like, okay, we got to let it go. We have to let the rock roll down the hill. Like, we're in late stage capitalist hell right now. Don't fall into the trap. It's the only thing. And I feel like that was why it was so important for us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I want to get into what Venus can really help you embody and imbibe in. Like, there is nothing more inviting to me than Venus's energy in the chart.
Totally. And like, as a Taurus Venus, seeing, dress like your Taurus Venus and you'll, get everything you want in the world, which is also like, these are just false promises. Completely. Like, it's such a combination of everything in life. But like, I don't want to wear bows every day and like pink. And I know so many amazing.
You have to get the bull ring.
Right? It's like, no, my nose ring stay on the side. And even, or just being, as a Taurus, being told what to do. It's like, are you kidding me?
Fixed Earth? Come on.
Are you absolutely joking? But I think there are tips and tricks. Like, it's not far off, right? Like, there's a reason we're talking about it, and I totally get it. And it's fun, and there's trends. Like, that's
it's the quick
society.
hits.
It's
you know
quick.
what I mean? Like, and I always say this to people, when you're only getting your information from astrologers on TikTok, you're getting such a slight bit of who that astrologer is. And some astrologers are putting out these little shorts and blips of information, but they don't really have the backing of what else it means. So I'm like, the tips and tricks are great for what they give you and the fun that you can have on it, but I encourage you to dive so much deeper.
Well, and I think that that's like the thing about chart readings, and when I'm in with a client too, it's like, how many times do I hear, just tell me like what to do, like just give me the like instant answer. And what's so cool with your natal chart is that we're like extremely nuanced and have a lot of contradictory energy. You know, part of our chart is really going to want to be spontaneous and crazy and like wild. And then another part might really value safety and security. Exactly. And it depends. It could be at different parts of your chart. Maybe in relationships, you really want safety and security. Maybe in your work and your day-to-day job life, you want to be more freewheeling and or freelancer or something that's like a little more exciting. And I think that's the same with Venus, is that it's not just like, oh, Taurus Venus in a vacuum, or insert your Venus sign here, which you can find in your, you know, go on your natal chart calculator, find your Venus. But like we've talked about, like the aspects that are being made to that Venus, the house that it's in, just all of the things is going to be such big building blocks for how we enact Venus in the world. And I do think it's cool. People want to bring Venus and do like basically glamour magic into their day-to-day life,
because
and that's
it can totally work and be fun. Like, we're not saying none of this works. We're just saying
I'm not a party pooper.
Deeper.
However, I do feel preachy about Venus, because Venus is about everything you want in the world, to then be like, here's your formula and just do this. I mean, we've seen the like TikToks of like girls in Paris, right, that are in gray tights with maroon shoes, and it's like, you do have to start getting your style from somewhere. And I think the internet has been that great tool, but you can also learn from like the cool chick you saw when you were in high school, or even representing like the music that you like, or the art that you practice, or whatever it is. And I think that's another thing as a Taurus Sun conjunct Venus astrologer, is like, I think everybody has creativity inside of them. And so dressing yourself is like one way that you can absolutely work with Venus and play with that. And also with Venus colors and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just, when people are like, oh yes, prescribe me fashion, it's like, that's not fashion.
No, and it's also like, I don't want to have any control or free will over my life, which I'm just not a subscriber to. Again, like Taurus rising, my Venus is my chart ruler, and I have my Venus in Scorpio, a la the backless dress with the high slit
She
today.
is dressing like her Venus, I
did.
will say.
And I wanted us to bring a little element of that, to just say, let it be one part of what you know Venus as. So I have you here. Can you tell the people, as someone with Venus and Taurus, how do you see that expressing itself? How do you abide by your own Venus sign?
Oh, I love that. Well, I do care about aesthetics. I do. I've been burned over the years where, like, I don't think it's impossible to be friends or connect with people who don't like the same stuff as you. But as a Taurus Sun Venus, it's very difficult. Like, if we're worlds apart on music, if we're worlds apart on movies, it's I want to connect with people over art and expression, because art and expression also brings up topics at large. You know, I know we've talked about The Substance. Like, it's not just a horror movie
at all. I'm
like,
sitting there like on the edge of my seat, you know, and I'm somebody, my nervous system is shot. Like, I want my life to be very calm and appeased. But
she's a Virgo at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Which is funny, because I love you dressed as your Scorpio Venus, but also I've seen you come as like Virgo Earth Mother. Like, you were wearing like a long white skirt. I think the first time we met, you were wearing like a green top with a long white skirt and like a silver Western belt. And I was like, she's so Virgo-in right now.
I love you.
Yeah, of course, I remember the outfit the first day we met.
I mean, you're sitting there sussing it out. Like, is this somebody that I'm going to be able to self-express
And we had the same top.
with?
I owned that top too. And I was like, okay, Earth goddess connection. But back to Taurus Venus in terms of like style. And I have a little anecdote for every Venus sign, so don't fret. Me as a Taurus.
We're going to get to it.
Here's the conditions. But honestly, hot tip is like, I need to be comfortable.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
I've tried uncomfortable shoes. It is not for me. I think some other signs and planetary aspects can handle pain.
Might even like it.
I can handle pain, but in like more of a recreational, fun way. Like, I don't want my clothes to stop me from my enjoyment.
Yes.
And similar, like, these are all clothes. I was texting you. I was like, what should I wear? Because we're talking about Venus.
No, I love it.
And I just got all these old clothes dyed. Like, I just picked them up yesterday.
No, they're incredible.
So these are like white pants that I had for years that fit perfect, but I'm a Taurus who enjoys to eat and to live life, and I stain everything that I own.
Quite literally, I was like, just wear tie-dye.
Yes.
In some random roundabout way, it's like the metaphor of it all too. Like, okay, yeah, but I'm going to do it 10 times more beautiful.
I'm truly dressed like Earth, actually. It's like ocean, clouds, and like land right now. So that was a little subconscious. I mean,
your hair is the sun.
But then
your skin is the clouds.
But then I can get into like, I feel like this is where I like deviate, and I'm like, yes, this is all Taurus Venus. I want to be sensual and comfortable. But then I'm like, I'm a Cancer rising. I want to be a mermaid as well.
1000%.
I'm an Aries moon. That's my chart ruler. I need to be able to go day to night. I want to be able to like wear this, look cute, then go to lunch with you, and then like see where the day takes me. So being able to, you know me, I'm a 10,000 steps a day person too. I'm like, I need to be able to hoof and go places and like have things transition.
Absolutely.
Even with like brat summer, right? And everyone's like, how do I look like a brat? I'm like, has no one slept in their makeup before?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, bitch, like I'm out of my makeup wipes 90% of the time. I have people be like, how is your skin so clear? I'm like, God.
Yeah, no,
at this point,
genetics. No, same. I mean, I can fall asleep and I get my like 3 times a year pimples, like blessed be.
Truly.
But it's like imitating that you had a really good time. I don't know. That's my ethical line where I'm like, I maybe have the good time and then have that reflect back.
I don't think icks are solely meant for romantic partners and prospective partners.
Oh no.
I feel like
Earth sign being annoyed by shit.
Right? Girl.
Being like, oh.
And it's all the fixed in my chart too, where it's like you don't know who you are. Like, aren't you just born knowing who you are? And it's like we all learn it and explore it and grow it. But I do think coming back to Venus signs that it is an incredible way to kind of deeper understand, because I always say Venus is love, sex, beauty, money, pleasure.
Yeah.
So it's like attracting, but also the reciprocity of giving and receiving all of those elements in life too, which end up making you this full-bodied being that's in a body enjoying your experience here in a tangible earth. Like, we don't need to bypass who we are or our time here in order to be something or get something that is not inherently meant for us. And I think Venus is almost like the attractant, like the way for us to get what we deserve and desire.
Yes.
But what's not meant for you isn't going to come to you just because you're dressing like Charlie XCX when you didn't even listen to the album and cry to Sympathy is a Knife, the original.
Or the remix.
Listen, but it's like, I totally hear what you're saying. And I think I would love at this point to kind of go over some of the anecdotal advice for all 12 of the Venus signs. This isn't even getting into house systems. This isn't getting into aspects.
Maybe we'll come back and go deeper.
Please. I would love to make it a 3-part series. Like we do
kind of
signs this time, houses next time, aspects the third time, because we have to give the people what they want and some level of advice. Like, trust me, I don't want anybody listening to this thinking like we're going to shut the lights off and tell you how to find something over in the corner. It's like,
no, if it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, which I guess now that's what's happening. And I think that, again, there is merit in knowing your Venus and getting that inspiration. But then we need individual cool people now more than ever. And you know, it just takes, I get flashbacks of high school of like every person wearing the same thing. And like you, hopefully as you become an adult, I'm assuming adults are watching this. If you're a teenager, it gets better. And
after your Saturn return.
Straight up loved it. And it's just like, I think there's nuggets of what people are saying in the dress like your Venus, but you can apply that to your own style. The amount of like Libra girlies I know who are goths, like, and they just get all the back to pink bows as a fellow Venusian sign, and they're like
hyper femme.
Yeah, they're like, what do I do with this? It's like, well, there's hyper femme goths,
right,
who are hot as hell,
truly.
So you can also apply the stuff you like. You don't have to get rid of the worlds that you've liked and that you've grown into.
Exactly.
And you can apply that. Like when I was growing up, like I connected deeply to like grunge. And I feel like grunge is always going to be at the base of whatever I'm doing. Because I was like, who doesn't love an oversized cardigan?
1,000%.
And I compare it with a sexy tube top.
Do you have either 11th house or Aquarius placements?
Oh, honey. I'm an 11th house stellium.
Okay, that's where it is.
Yes, and so that was a quick astrology language too. I have Aquarian undertones to
everything.
Because I have my sun, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter.
And also why she's going to preach eccentricism and authenticity, because it's the root of
and
you.
And also, like, wear your clothes.
Yes.
Sorry, if I can also leave it with anything, wear your clothes.
And stop shopping on Shein for every trend. No, I'm sorry. Like, this is probably going to get cut, or like it's going to be more off the mic stuff, but I'm like,
bonus footage.
You don't have to keep up with every trend. You don't have to apply these tips to every single trend. It's like, the more that you can constrict yourself, the more creative I believe that you grow to be. Like, take all of it away for a moment to figure out what arises in the silence and the stillness.
And play. I think play is so quintessential. Like, when I look, and this is just time moving on. Like, I'll look back at a photo of me from 7 years ago and be like, what the fuck was I wearing? Right. But then 2 years later, I'm like, wait, I looked hot as hell. And it's like, it's all going to be this modular thing. And I think you can even homage yourself, homage different periods of your life. But then also, I keep coming back to Brat because I'm an OG angel. It's just like, Charlie made a mood board and everything for Brat before it was rolled out. Same with The Substance. She made a 100-page mood board before the movie.
This manifesto of what you see.
I think it could work. I think that could work so much, maybe a little more effectively, putting that into a visual inspiration board versus then buying. You're always going to be sold.
And you get lost in it.
You're always going to be sold something like, hello. Have you opened your eyes? I'm getting so 11th housey now. Now I'm realizing this is my soapbox. It's like, listen, I just want everyone to be cool and expressive in themselves, because there's no one else like you. And coming back, your natal chart is rooting for you and your highest potential, and not to be like any other hoe you see on the street. Hoe in a positive, sex positive way.
Absolutely. We love sluts. We
friendly
love
hoe.
Exactly. But I really do. I fully believe in what you're saying. And I think that's the essence of why we needed to bring this episode together, because it is a permission slip to set yourself free when you start to understand this part of your chart.
Set yourself free. Yeah. Astrology is fun.
Yes. Or it should be.
And deep. And it should. And if it's feeling like, and I think this goes with the like, wait, I need to dress like this. Wait, what do you mean? Like, March astrology is going to be crazy. It's like, yes, all these things are true, but also you're here to not only just absorb, but you're also here to live the astrology.
Exactly.
And there was probably a point in your life where you were doing life without consistently checking astrology.
Right.
And infuse your human earthliness back into your astrology.
Absolutely.
Infuse your interests. We want to get to know you. And not like the clone. Like, I mean, it's the same with like jeans and black top, which good, a standard, a classic. But if you've been itching to challenge yourself, or itching just to like also not feel so prescribed from everything around, this just felt like I don't know. Yes. We both, when you asked like what should we talk about, I was like, can we bitch about Venus signs in a positive, fun way?
Completely. And I think we do have to acknowledge how much of this is being distorted. Like, the way that we were brought here to express ourselves is getting distorted by late stage capitalism.
Every time.
Eurocentric beauty standards and dressing for the male gaze. Because why would every single straight, approaching like cis woman be out in the same black top and light wash jeans?
Yeah, I feel like because society at large has especially I'm talking mainly about American society,
Yes.
being based in the United States.
But it's also the epicenter of so many things with
Right.
Hollywood and fashion. And
we trickle out
Right.
to everything we touch because we can't help ourselves.
not that it should be, but I'm
No.
saying it has predominantly in the times that we've been alive and aware with recorded history been like the place that people would answer to. That's very much changing.
And I think just what's great about one-way video channels, which is basically most social media platforms, is, you know, you're getting a lot of information. It's a great way. I mean, a lot of us, I myself included, grew up, I heard of astrology because of the internet. Like I was online cafe astrology, you know, tell me. And I wanted to be told about who I was.
Yes.
But then when you start to learn more, and maybe again, it could just be my Aries moon where I'm like, that's not all of me. Like, that's not the everything.
Get fired up, get independent about it.
Well, it's also like writing as much as possible for a general group of people. So like, what are the odds it's going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to have the nuggets that you take with you. So I think, I feel like I've been seeing that more in the recent years is just these one-way channels when I think astrology can be a conversation, and, you know, chart readings can have moments where you feel like maybe hopefully you're not feeling too lectured, but you are getting a lot of info. But then also, like, does that resonate?
Right.
And I think that's the question to ask if you're scrolling, like, hey, so you're a Taurus Venus, so wear bows and, like, you know, dress like Sabrina
cutesy.
Carpenter or whatever.
Have the milkmaid dress on. It's
and I'm
like,
like, does this resonate? I think you can ask it, honestly, you could probably ask about any video you scroll by. It's like, does this resonate with me, or is this just feeling like I'm being put into the factory? And
Venus to me is the indication of, am I enjoying this? Like Venus tells us about pleasure and joy and enjoyment. So it's like, let it be your guide. Of course, we're scrolling. There's some mercurial mind influence there, but it's like, get into your body. Allow Venus to be that anchor that gets you back into your body to say, like, am I loving the way that looks, or that person is presenting themselves? Can I gain inspiration from this in some way, shape, or form that I actually enjoy?
Yes, 1000%. Venus is here to have a good time. It's also hard to not talk about Venus, obviously, with every other thing, but also with Mars, with our needs and these kind of like knee-jerk feelings, where Venus is like the dream. Venus is like best case scenario with your love, with your fashion, whatever. And as, you know, someone that's like short and curvy, I'm like, I want things that fucking fit.
Exactly.
And like just look good on my body and feel like they're me. And then we'll figure out the dyeing and the color and the adjustments and get things tailored, if that can leave with any Venus advice. Get things tailored, get things to really fit you, because things should fit you and you shouldn't have to fit into things is also the chart of it all.
That's a sermon.
And I'm sure you see this with like readings or looking at people's charts. It's like oftentimes we're doing the opposite.
Completely.
Most of the time, people are, I find, doing the complete opposite of their chart, because Earth is really a wild experience. And typically the only thing stopping us from living dream lives is ourselves. Now, granted, again, back to the late capitalism, where you're born, factors of life. I'm not, you know, that is real. But in a very like soul sense, like it's all there for you. So like, I'm just here to root for people to not be anyone but themselves. And I think you can utilize Venus principles and apply it to your taste.
Absolutely. I talked about this in the last episode, going over the astrology of 2025 and how so much of Pluto, our outermost planet, being in Capricorn, really rooted us from 2008 up until recently in this feeling of needing to make sense, to be, you know, cheap, and what's the baseline and how much can we get out to the masses. It was very oligarchish and
if I do X, Y, Z, I will get house and job and baby and the things that my generations before told me that I was supposed to get.
Which is so funny to me, because that was also the fall of all of that. Like anybody buying or trying to create traditional standards for their lives, I felt like we were in this position where the floor got dropped from underneath us. So it's like, how do we find joy and pleasure and self-expression when that kind of like outer transformative planet is screaming at us to like go through a death and rebirth of all of those Capricorn elements? But now for my 11th houser, we get this opportunity where Pluto is in Aquarius, and it's like, you're not the crazy lady screaming into the void, like be eccentric, be loud, be yourself, be authentic. It's like, that is truly what
disrupt
everybody is going to start to feel now.
Yeah. Well, the Pluto and Capricorn era, looking back now that we can in astrology, is really powerful for hindsight and history and the patterns of life repeating themselves. It's like, yeah, all that Capricorn stuff, which can be, I now realize that from Pluto and Capricorn, the low end of Capricorn was a lot of appearance.
Exactly.
It was all built
hierarchy.
It was built on a weak foundation.
Exactly.
There was a lot, and especially now that we're seeing so much of those just for visibility initiatives like DEI and inclusivity being rolled back as soon as they're not trendy. Right. It's like, oh, okay, so you never really cared, but it was the appearance of caring because that was going to make you the most money at that time period.
Totally.
So it's like, oh, okay, that's what that was.
And it comes back down to a microcosmic level. Like, if you are trying to perform to be someone just because a video told you your Venus sign is in Cancer, so you have to dress in all silver and blue and dress like the ocean and be flowy, and it's like, what if you
put shrimp tails on your fingers? Right. Yeah.
And it's like, that might not be, like, not every Cancer Venus wants to wear a pearl necklace and pearl earrings every day.
They're so sick of it, I'm sure.
Truly. So I'm just sitting here and thinking, like, this is the way that astrology becomes more of like a poem rather than just a word. You can't look at one singular word and understand the meaning of the poem that is trying to be expressed through your entire birth chart. But I think Venus as a concept, when we lean into it, all that you're being asked to do is check in and say, do I enjoy and derive pleasure off of this outfit, this makeup? The lack thereof, the people that I'm spending time with, the people that I'm allowing into my mind, body, heart, spirit, the social media posts that I'm ingesting, any of the media that I'm ingesting. And it's like, we love the substance. You might fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not an easy film.
Absolutely
and that's what's
not.
Really cool about it. And yeah, and I mean, I don't know why like Britney Spears came to mind, because I believe she's a Capricorn Venus. I have to double, triple check. But let's just go with it. She's either Capricorn Mars or Capricorn Venus. But I'm just think of those, like, you know, she, I think, did derive a lot of pleasure out of being the provider, of being a very powerful Venusian figure. And she's a Libra rising ruled by her Venus too. And the low end then was people taking advantage of how much she can provide. And I think it's such a flow too with Venus, with coming back to values, because you're going to hear values a lot if you start reading about Venus or dive deeper. And it is like, what is values?
Right.
And it is how you're living your life. It is how you want to see the world. And then how you see the world is also reflected back in how you adorn yourself, the people you keep, the friendship, the people who are around you reflect who you are. 11th house rant right there. But it's true. And so it all, you know, that can be the cool, deep diving rabbit hole thing about astrology. And also sometimes the like, fuck, it feels like I'm starting to get into Bob Dylan and he has a huge discography and where do I go? Right. But that Venus can be food and pleasure and sex and values and outfits and art and relationships. It's like, it's a lot, but then derive, what does that all come back to? And it's like, what do you want to be doing?
Yeah.
If there's no rules, right? Like no Saturn, no Saturn here.
Yeah, we're not bringing Daddy Saturn into the equation.
And no
right
Mercury,
now.
no like, well, how will that process? How will that do? Or Mars, like, how will this? It's like just in pure bliss mode. Right. I mean, the closest planet we could talk to in relation, and I've always heard of it as the higher octave of Venus, is Neptune.
I love.
But another time, you know, that's another factor. But yeah, I think Venus is just pure goodness and light. Even if you have a difficult Venus, right? Because it's Venus. Same with Jupiter.
Like, I was just going to say, and I'm sitting here with a Scorpio Venus and in my 7th house,
Love.
But it's like, you talk about having a difficult placement, and it's like, that shouldn't stop you from the self-expression. And I
mean,
think
you're just a lover.
Yeah.
To the
quite literally got it tatted on my hand just to let the whole world know.
You're deep. There's a deepness. You know, there's a surface level fling, I'm assuming probably isn't the most appealing thing.
Absolutely not. It has been so difficult for me to navigate in that arena.
Casual.
I know that you know this. Most of my community knows this, but I've gone through long-term relationships. I was recently engaged, called it off. My standard of depth is so different from most people, and it's not for a good or bad thing. I had one of my closest friends ask me yesterday if you could describe what you envy other people about having with your Scorpio Venus, and then what you pity other people for not having with a Scorpio Venus.
Yeah.
And my answer was, I envy how other people can be so much more subjective and logical and rational about the way that they connect and collaborate with the world around them, and that not everything feels like a personal attack, and not everything feels like there's some deeper meaning, and that you can get through your day without the constant nagging of what the meaning and the existential element of it all is. But then I said, what I pity other people for not experiencing is I live in a state of miracles. Even at my lowest lows, I'm like, what a gift it is for me to have pain, because pain to me is a reminder of you being alive.
You're so scorpionic.
But it's like, if we did not have physical or emotional pain, there's a new movie being advertised all over LA, these huge billboards called Novocaine.
Oh, I've been seeing that, yeah.
And of course, I'm sitting in traffic on this junction of Melrose and La Brea, and I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, okay, so he got shot, he cut his carotid artery, whatever.
Yeah. And it's a guy who can feel limitless pain.
Exactly. And I just sat there and I was like, what a trap, that to me is more of a hellscape than being able to feel it, because when you can start to differentiate the difference between feelings and reality, the pain was never really the issue.
Oh my gosh, you're giving me opposition to our Venus thoughts, where I'm and the Taurus Venus is only good things, please. only pleasure push hours, but it can't be all good or all bad. And love doesn't have to be just 100% bliss or 100% torture.
Right.
It's probably a healthy mix of both.
Right.
Depending on what's going on in your life. But I think, yeah, Scorpio energy, especially with Venus, is such a magician and alchemizer, and it's cool as shit. I just think of Taurus Venus as we're curator mood setters.
1000%, and you do a phenomenal job at that. I think what I have really appreciated about our friendship and having you there to mirror that back on the same axis, get you a Venus opposition friend if you don't have one, is just the idea that there is unnecessary pain and suffering that I've subjected myself to up until this point. So it's pain isn't the only reminder of our aliveness, but it is absolutely a vehicle to get there.
And then you're talented, I think, with when you have that access to that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all for you. Then you can help other people with their pain.
Exactly.
It doesn't just have to be you as the pain trash receptacle.
Right.
It's oh no, I know what pain can be. So I can reflect that back with others and not just be, which can be hard for a Taurus, because I, share as a Taurus, and it's very snap out of it.
Right.
It can be just very blunt.
No, totally.
And that's been, especially post my Saturn return, has been okay, nuance. Not everybody needs to be saved. Not everyone wants to be told what to do.
And not everybody has...
Let a Taurus run your life. It might be great, but consenting parties only.
Right. And not everyone has the common sense that you have. I think it's...
Yeah, our signs are pretty no nonsense.
Right. It's more deeply understanding what comes so innately to you guys is quite literally not available to 90% of the human population. Right.
We're amongst them, and I was just telling my husband, I was I love traveling because I can't hear anybody speak the language I speak. And I'm like, everything feels so much more romantic, even though they probably are also having the same annoying conversations I overhear.
Exactly.
But it sounds more chic. And it's great.
There's nobody saying that they just heard your whole entire conversation.
Should we chat about each Venus and maybe what I have it on my phone notes is a little.
Please. Yeah. So of course, we got to start off. Maybe at some point I'll switch it up and, make Aries wait until the end. But for now, I don't want the onslaught. So Aries, Venus.
You don't want to, we could torture them.
You want to?
We can go backwards.
Get a little bit into it?
Why not? I agree. I'm beginning of the zodiac alphabet, so I'm always like, oh, me.
And we started with
me
Venus
here challenging. I'm like, why don't we?
No. We're starting with Venus and Taurus.
I know, I feel
Stevie got into that a little bit, but I think let's dive a little more into that. Aries can wait until 12th place, and then
we'll wind down the clock New Year's Eve style.
Love it.
So with Pisces Venus, I think in terms of like value, which then you can apply to your own fashion, and some of these might be like duh, and also part of when you see dress like your Pisces Venus, but I mean, Pisces is romantic.
It is.
If there's not a bit of romance in your style, in your story,
in your approach to life,
and just your approach to life, like you're here to connect people.
Absolutely.
Even though, again, you might have a Capricorn moon that's sitting there like, yeah, you're also there to kind of connect people, but in a way more, assertive way. So again, there's going to be the nuance of all your other chart placements, but I think a Pisces Venus is going to really just flow when they can just, I also see like comfortable like fabrics and things. Again, I don't want to prescribe because that's what we've been kind of talking against, but I think they're just such back to lovers and water signs. There's just so, there's just a lot of depth there. So embracing things that feel a little otherworldly is always going to be your superpower.
Absolutely. And I think about them too as really sentimental beings, like very nostalgic, the type of people that do well when they have people from different stages of their lives that they can go back to those places with.
Yes.
I think they're so happy with understanding the limitless circle of time.
They are the best thrifters.
They are.
I have no like patience for thrifting. That's why I just like dye my things. And I think it's just like watery people can like just like all of people's stuff, and I'm like
life in it.
Yeah,
to me, it's like
you're going through
giving
history,
it a new life. Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'd like a curated store of all this stuff. Like, I'll actually pay the upcharge of someone to curate this because I just don't. I find no relaxation in it. It could be my Aries moon. Yeah. If you're a Taurus Venus, like what?
There are many people in LA blanketing their overconsumption by, well, I do it with vintage pieces.
Oh yeah.
So
we've talked about vintage resellers,
and they make a quick buck off of people like you that don't have the patience for it. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have a. Well, maybe it's a bonus episode. I'm like vintage resellers. We could talk about. I'm banned from Depop, so it's a story for another time.
That's a very Pisces Venus comment to make. Okay, Aquarius Venus.
Okay, so this was the one I had blank.
What?
For so long, I couldn't fill in the blank. And all I wrote was, I don't think they want me to describe them.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I feel like it's not specifically grunge and punk in the way that we think about it. It's the people that are saying, I don't care about that trend. It's the people that are going back to their roots, or they're saying that they've been wearing something for 20 years. Why do they need to shift it up? It's people who can look at a trend and go, you're marketing to me.
Yeah, they're so aware, and that's why whenever I feel like I start to name them or describe them,
they're elusive.
They're like, no. And then sometimes they devil's advocate themselves out of their own things they like. So that's my only like loving advice to the Aquarians in general, but especially Aquarius Venus. It's like as soon as they start to feel understood, they can sometimes pull away. So maybe they just need to do that with themselves, of being totally described by the general public is like, it's too much.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the movie Soul?
Yes.
I feel like the piano player in Soul, or was it piano?
I think he was like a jazz guy, if I recall.
But he strikes me as Aquarius Venus, like someone who, when they enjoy and indulge in something, it becomes like a meditative meta experience to them. Like the things that they enjoy take them out and away from this fixed air. Like, give me something new to bring back to reality when I'm out of this.
And I think similar to the sign coming up, Capricorn, I think that they also want to dress like what they do.
Yeah.
Like if you're a potter, you know, it's cute, the overall linen
Have a
thing.
little stained.
Yeah, like showing that what you're interested in and
Exactly.
showing what you do in the world is going to just only feel really more natural for them.
Yeah, and to me, I'm like, because they both have that kind of Saturnian influence, I do think that there's something incredible for both of them to understand that you can be tastemakers. You can be the ones like leading. It's so funny to me the way that everything comes back around. Like, I was in the process of my dentist being like, so we need to do like $50,000 worth of veneer work on your teeth. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to look like everybody else in LA.
Oh, yeah. Real teeth are back.
Right. But we have
Crazy to say. It's like teeth are back. Natural
kids,
teeth.
like Gen Z, Gen Alpha kids making super edits on TikTok of unique teeth.
Yeah, they're
in
craving unique
movies and
teeth.
TV. And I'm like, there's absolutely no way that I'm giving into this, maybe some of a fixed Venus influence, but to kind of close off Aquarius Venus. And what we were saying is like, don't be afraid to lead the workshop, to do the job, to dress the way that you want, to do your makeup or your hair however you feel, because eventually that's going to be the thing that is a super edit for the kids.
Yeah, I feel like their most unique feature, they might, because we're a society that makes everyone want to be the same. It's like the more you highlight the things that are really different about you, the more you can shine.
Exactly.
Corny, but it's really true. Because like, again, society just makes. I also went to Catholic school.
Yeah, same.
You know,
I had the influence.
What else?
I didn't go
period.
to Catholic school. I don't know why I just said that, but I was raised Catholic.
You're like I did too. Just kidding. Well, I was like, you confessed right away, which is very Catholic. And a lot of the religious
God, I'm sorry.
girlies end up, I feel like, going into mysticism a lot of the times, or they go deeper into that. And, you know, being in a place of conformity, I think, too, was like also the, okay, well, I'm going to do everything I can to. I'm going to roll my skirt up. I'm going to wear Britney Spears knee-high socks.
Right.
I'm going to put on like chunky raver jewelry.
How far can I go within
How can
the
I stretch the
confines?
limitation?
Exactly.
And to Capricorn, that's funny because I did write structured and uniform. I feel like a lot of the Capricorn-y people I know, and especially Capricorn Venus, I have a friend who's actually a vintage reseller in Capricorn Venus, and she does only wear black and white, and I respect that. I'm like, but there's something special about that.
Does it work for her?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, right. Like
and
the highlighting
and not
we were
prescriptive.
saying.
She has a lot of Scorpio energy. Like, again, it's a whole. We're working with a whole ingredient, right? When or different ingredients when we're making this recipe. But I think Capricorn having things that fit. I feel like Capricorns are the ones that can also maybe play with, you know, pain is beauty, fashion things.
The
like
restriction
The
thing
restriction. Again. Yeah. Like just, or even like tying things up in different ways, just playing with form. Like I think of them as sculptors because they're so back to Saturn. They can work with different things. So if I don't know, if you're Capricorn Venus and have always just had the same hair, like throw it up or like try, like make something from the things, or tie shirts in a different way. I think you can just play with what you have, but then like, let me tuck this or reformat it. And I think that has like a lot of powerful punch because Capricorns just can like truly carve from the marble. And I think that's like their gift.
I think about gymnasts, ballerinas, ice skaters, sculptors, like you were saying, but chess players, just people that have to work within constraint and find a unique ability for self-expression within that box, like getting creative with the limitation and ending up having this end result that wows people. Like they are such refiners, not a severance.
I haven't watched the new season yet. I need to get upstate.
Okay, I won't say anything else. It's so good. But yeah, the idea even of that show, or like anyone who's working in a corporate job, it's like you're not just the limitation. I feel like those people know how to use limitation to their advantage.
Totally.
So that their life outside of whatever is limiting them is so colorful and wowing.
They're making their own system. They're here to be leaders and innovators. And I think that always gets put in this like girl boss sort of way with Capricorn,
Right.
but like we all know bosses don't work that hard. So it's like it's about knowing how to delegate and make the most out of your time and the things that you have. Sagittarius Venus, I mean, effortless, universal, worldly.
Brash too. Like something, I always think of like a statement piece, like somebody who carries that chicken purse around and then it's like everybody.
Oh yeah, actually I know a Sag. I don't know if that's their Venus too. They might have an Aquarius Venus. They have a purse that's a frog.
Yes. And it's like a statement piece and other people want to talk to them about it. And it's typically something that has the undertones of humor. Like they love making people laugh and enjoy. Like they want to share in the joy. They're not just on the pursuit of self-expression for their own contentment. I feel like these people are the types of people, like you'll see someone who really enjoys comedy or like putting themselves out there in a way that makes other people laugh. This is absolutely like the energy of a boyfriend that will hide a fart for their partner and be like, no, that was totally me. You know, like it's like your whole essence is the ability to laugh things off and not take things so seriously while having like the most cosmic wisdom.
There are clowns here on Earth, and we love Sagittarius people for that. It made me even think of wearing like a boyfriend's shirt the next day and like tucking into like a cute skirt. Like it's just like, yeah, it looks like you've lived life. Yeah. And the comedy. No shame. No shame at all. The comedy element is like, I love that. I feel like there was something else, but Sages, oh, that's what it was. Not that you have to, again, go and be prescriptive, but my brain immediately went to like Betsy Johnson, to Vivienne Westwood, to like, it's...
Even thinking of the logo of Betsy Johnson, that it like looks written, like it looks so childlike.
Yeah, yeah. There's like a little play, never hurt anybody. Throwing in a pattern that feels conflicting, even though it goes, is like very Sag.
Absolutely.
Scorpio Venus, and you can speak to this. I mean, I wrote seduction and retention.
Totally.
Like, and history.
Yeah.
The story of your outfit, like that it has some like maybe heirloom energy. That there's like a, I mean, I think mood boards help everybody, but like Scorpios just, I mean, they do love black. What can you say? Like, same with Capricorn Venuses. But having it come back to, again, romance, but in a sex-forward sort of way. Yeah, in a sex-forward way.
Like, to me, I think what's exciting about that placement is just the element of magnetism, almost like a voyeurism or a voyeuristic approach to things, too. Like, wearing a skirt that I know is going to catch when I sit on something. So when I get up, it's like only the first few people that saw it will like see a little booty cheek.
Yeah, and like you have this like long sleeve ensemble, but then the back's all exposed and there's a little keyhole. You know, like I don't know what her Venus is, but like the whole Bianca Censori naked dress. I'm like, there's never been something I found more unsexy because there's no tease. It's just, in a kind of sciencey way, just kind of flat. It feels just like here's flesh. Yeah, it's super anatomical. Where Scorpio knows like you could just go all the way, but then like that peak of underwear or that peak of something is just, it's a secret. There's having a little secret in your outfit. Ooh, or like you open a coat and has like cool lining inside, like something that just surprises.
I was going to say nothing on underneath.
You're just a trench. You're three kids in a trench coat. Libra Venus. I mean,
wait, I'm not done talking about that.
Okay, continue. Go.
I think
the floor is yours.
The one thing that I wanted to say about Scorpio Venus before we move on, because we talk about planets being in detriment and fall and immediately putting them into this, like, it's bad, you won't be able to express yourself. Trying to find a sense of support and alchemization of the things that bring shame, because as much as we talk about Sagittarius Venus having no shame, I feel like it's overcompensating for how much shame Scorpio Venus people, at least in my own lived experience and with my clients, hold. Like there is typically that undertone of like growing up and having Catholic roots or like being in this very religious or like strict or constrained reality up until the point that you had the ability to have free will and make your own choices.
Right.
So I think there's something about alchemizing any of the shame or pain or confusion and turning it into this magnetic superpower.
Right.
But don't be afraid to lean on other people for that.
the Scorpios have deep roots.
Truly.
And instead of just being stuck in the past in their story, they can be like, this is why I'm sharing this, and this is why this is a part of the presentation, which Venus, you know, we're talking about it a lot in this presentational sort of sense. No.
Yes.
I love it. I mean, like, hang on, Scorpio Venus here.
Like that pull. It's like,
I mean, anytime I have a crush on someone, they're Scorpio Venus. Like anytime you see, like, I don't like, there's some, I'm like,
dude,
I'm really
Addison Rae.
I'm really into Addison Rae right now. It's like, oh, you have the mystique. It's that Lana, like, who is she?
Exactly. And her putting the high fashion cover photo as her feet, I'm like, she knows what she's doing.
Oh, I just saw a cover of her from this morning on French Vogue with Debbie Harry hair. Stop. And she's playing like,
I love her.
I'm a little sun ray. We'll have to see a tour this year.
Oh my God, I would love to.
And like, I think Margot Robbie is a Scorpio Venus. I have to check. Like, there's just, anytime I'm like, what is it about her? It's like, oh, of course, Scorpio Venus.
Completely.
And it's because there's just like, I feel like centering, coming back to like the eyes too, just like working with the strong.
I think Beyonce is like, everybody talks about her Virgo sun, and I'm like, no, that is that Scorpio influence. Maybe Scorpio moon. Don't quote me on any of it. But well, there is.
Fact check me later.
Magnetism. Libra Venus.
Libra Venus. I just, you know, they're in touch with their taste. They're in service to art and to beauty. They're another one who I think could play the game of paying for fashion and can like make those sacrifices in order to like turn a look.
Absolutely.
But
like to be appeasing to other people.
It is in conversation, and it often is relational in a very Libran way, but also just like a dedication. Like I think Scorpio gets a lot, and the signs bleed into each other with their themes. And I think Libra can also be very dedicated into their interests and the things that they care about, and also how they adorn themselves. So it's important to them to also probably like other Venusians to connect by their taste. And back to gothy Libras, like you're allowed. Scorpios don't have to be gothy either. Like I know so many like quote girly girl Scorpios who just, but then you get, you know, you have a cocktail with them and they're like, they tell you most twisted shit you've ever heard. And you're like, oh, okay, that's where your Scorpio is. It's it's inside. And I think that's the other part. Like some parts of our signs are going to be internal, and then some are going to be the external. So yeah, I mean, Libra's just like, they know what to do.
They do. And being ruled by Venus,
they're like, no, I don't.
Right. There's this coupling. It's almost like you don't have to teach them to lean into what they love and desire. Being in a Libra Venus's home or their room, or like wherever they express themselves outwardly, like not just in the way that they dress, but I feel like their hobbies and their home, it's always like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or like, why didn't I think of doing that? It's like these tiny twists on traditional things that just make them slightly more enjoyable and beautiful. They have that touch.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I actually put my olive oil in this little olive oil pourer. And it's like, oh, of course you do. Like, that's like only you would. So I think for a sign that's always pegged as indecisive, this is an avenue where you can be very decisive. So maybe it's good practice too for the Libra Venus is to be like, no, this is the outfit. This is the vibe I'm going for. End of sentence.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Virgo Venuses. Seek help. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm so sorry. I'm obsessed with Virgo Venus people.
I love them. I'm married to one. I'm friends with many.
I've dated them in the past, and I'm just like, that to me is like shut your brain off energy. Like you're with a Virgo Venus.
They got it.
They do. They are.
You're fine.
Thinking 10 steps ahead
you.
with everything. They are so intentional with their approach to life. I mean, you can speak on it more. I had a short fling, and I was
acts
obsessed.
of service off the charts.
Yeah.
And I, in terms of like even style, like controlled. There's a strategy and
there's purpose too. Like
and
I feel
practicalness.
Like a hat that they got when they went on a family trip, and they're like, I like this because I took it on the family trip.
And even like, I feel like Kim K is like a famous Virgo Venus, but I was looking at her chart briefly, and because I was like, oh, that's interesting because, you know, she does do all this like stone, skims, practical. That's like hardcore Virgo Venus.
Earthy.
And then she gets a trine from Chiron and Taurus. And I'm like, oh, that's why you actually like do painful, unethical things to historical clothing items and to in the name of fashion. So back to that, I think Virgo can definitely do the pain for gain fashion look.
Yep.
But also, like, I think they're also, with the earth signs, wanting to embody the life they're living.
Yeah.
Like, you know, especially, I feel like in LA, like, if you work in entertainment, a lot of people are dressed extremely casual.
Completely.
Because they're like, well, I don't want to look like I just came into working like this. I need to look like I've been here.
Right.
And that I'm not
I'm not trying.
Exactly. It's a back to like an effortless sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Leo Venus is just one word, and it's individuality. I don't know what else to tell you.
And it's also like, of course, everybody's gonna go like show-stopping, bold,
Leopard
loud,
print,
but it's
red lip.
It's
like chill.
Maybe because those were the only ways that we were being sold bold and loud. But I feel like they are the type of people that they walk in to a store and they see something that looks like nothing else that's on the rack, and they're like, that's what I'm drawn to. It's just, it's an individuality. It's a uniqueness. It's also the opposite sign of Aquarius.
Yeah.
So we're still playing on that axis of performer observer.
Totally.
But they still both got into the exclusive club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just have to be them. If any sign is asked to be themselves, it's Leo. Leo's, whether you're Leo Sun, Venus, or other placements, you are truly here to learn how to be you. And a lot of people have a hard time being themselves. And I don't know. I feel bad. They always get the rep to dress like basically like a loud Florida grandma.
Yes.
And I'm just like, some parts of that are cute. Like, we love a big gold hoop. We love, like, oh, you have your big hair or whatever. And I do think their hair is like back to like religious. It is symbolic and very powerful. So I think being in touch with your hair look is sage advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of a kind.
Totally.
One of one.
And again, trend setting. Don't be afraid to do things just because nobody else is doing them yet.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Cancer. Venus, pearls. No, I'm just kidding. Grandma's outfits. I mean, just time. But I do think why we have pearls in grandma's outfits is because timeless.
Exactly.
Signature.
And again, opposite sign to Capricorn. So it's like we get some of the elements. This is where like learning and abiding by sister signs and axes is so important.
Very helpful.
But agreed with you. Like the timelessness, the thing that is a family heirloom, like there's a reason to Cancer being associated with generations and family and home.
They want to look like that photo that's like, that was grandma. Like, that was
she
like
was so hot.
Yeah, just having that and just being captured and seen. Like, even it doesn't really even matter what it is. I feel like Cancer could be like wrapped in the bed sheets and have like a beautiful photo taken of them, and they're like, that is truly me. I mean, of course, Cancer, you know, in the bed and in some place comfortable and nesting. But also, Cancers are some of the most wild ass people I know, because
Honestly.
once they're out the house, they are out. That if the decision has been made to be out the house, they're out the house.
They're never going back. Once they're gone, they're gone. They're in this self-expressed way that typically their family is like, oh, you know, so-and-so. Or like we hear from them from time to time and definitely bragging about what their Cancer placement child is doing. But there's a reason as to why they left, and they are the types of people that they take hobbies to a whole new level. Like I think of a Cancer Venus and I'm like, they know how to bake by memory and by feel. Like they are the ones that have this kind of newfound decoration sense where people come over and they're like, I don't want to leave. And it doesn't necessarily make sense.
I think Cancer and Capricorn are really not, you know, not always 100%, but a lot of them can be so good with their hands and tactile objects and the materiality. And
yeah, we go from like bones into like the chest and the heart, you know, like
and them titties. So let them out, put them on the shelf. I do think a Cancer can like do really well with a great bra,
1000%.
You know, or a braless or whatever. But like having your heart chest zone similar to Leo, that's why we lead from like the breast chest area into the heart with Leo. It's like, play with that. Maybe like a little glitter on the chest. Why not? It doesn't have to be for going out.
It's so intuitive too. Like, I mean, again, like for anybody out there that's been rolling around in the sheets, it's like there's something about that whole area that gets people going, whether you're the giver or the receiver there.
Nipples are the eyes to the soul. I feel like that's a phrase from somewhere.
Truly. I'm a Cancer Mars, so I feel you.
Same. Same. That's why we're going on. Who says it's a weak Mars? You never played with
Or
us
like,
before.
I'll make you weak.
Yeah, straight up. Okay, Gemini Venus.
Yes.
I mean, storytelling.
So they're
Showing their mind.
Interesting.
Reflecting their interests. I mean, I think Venus in general, that's always going to be a beautiful route to go.
Yeah.
It's like, who am I and what do I do? I honestly, do I need more astrology outfits? I don't know. We can talk about it.
Listen.
Do I need moons on everything? I don't know. This is where we need more hip astrology designers, I think.
Agreed.
Like, I just don't want to wear like Target, like cosmic leggings or
That's
anything. Anyway, that's
100% polyester, and it shrinks after 2 wears, and you never get to wear it again.
Oh, that's the preach for all Venus signs. In 2025, we are looking at what
High
fabrics.
quality.
We are looking at what are in the labels of the fabrics. We are all this stuff. I could die because it wasn't shitty fabric.
Right.
And I brought things, and they're like, that is made out of 100% cancer-inducing materials, and we can't. Not the sign, the illness.
Right.
And I was like, oh, they didn't say it like that, but
Yeah.
it's like, right, what we're wearing in the fabrics from the earth is also like very important. So that was on my in and out list for 2025. I was like, in is like we're looking at
Yes.
Because what? Because the earth needs us to also.
I know. And it would happen that we're bringing this up
On
Gemini
Venus.
Venus.
Like,
because
actually
it's
a story.
Like the rambler, the storytellers, the
And that's my
ones
Mercury and Jupiter. So
I love.
that's why I sound like a Gemini all the time.
And that's why people love you. Like, I think
Oh,
Gemini gets such a bad rep, but when you put it over Venus, it's like, I'm passionate about sharing things with you, like learning something, going to workshops together. Like,
I know so many Gemini people, but Venus as well, musicians and artists.
Yes.
And I think them having
they're skill builders.
Yeah, they have the clothing to do their art and also reflecting back. I think there's a few signs that have that crossover of like, I want to show you that this is what I'm doing out in the world.
Yeah.
Is very big for them. And yeah, just showing their mind, Geminis and air signs in general typically build attraction from that more cerebral connection. So having a cerebral element.
Demisexuals.
The demis of the world roll through. Meanwhile, Taurus is like, I'm not that demisexual. I'm physiosexual.
I mean, blending into it.
Yes.
Taurus Venus, talk to us.
And might be some repeat from what I said earlier since we talked about it a bit more, but truly comfortable.
Comfort,
sensual,
pleasure.
sexy. It's comfy can be sexy. I think having the things, and that can be like, oh, well, I want to have like boobies out in a corset, but I'm going to wear like shoes that I can dance in. And it's like the more I can be in my body, because Taurus is the senses. Also a signature scent. Never heard anybody with a Taurus placement or
1,000%.
that goes into effect. I spray perfume on before Zoom calls.
Same. Taurus rising, girl. Like, ruled by Venus, but Taurus rising, I'm just like, there's no reason that you can't get dolled up and enjoy your own presence just because nobody else is around all the time. And another thing, too, with the Taurus Venus is like, I feel like they really enjoy seeing other people in a state of pleasure as well.
Yes.
Like givers as much as they are receivers.
That's my special power, superpower in a thrift store when I do go, even though I'm like, oh, this is too much. Like, I can shop for other people.
Yes.
Like, it's nobody's business. So I think, too, like, and it's a relational sign like Libra. And that's where they have a lot of connection is being able to, like, share clothes or share things with others or, of course, Taurus is both in that, like, wants it all, but also can share. It's complicated. Like, it's not one or the other. But I think I've worked against the comfortability too many times, and I'm just here to preach, like, it's got to feel, especially even thrifting, if I can't get it on right away or if it's a struggle, it's just like, no. We're moving. Like, everything should be in this, like, fairly easy flow. And I think the more Taurus works with and against, like, the bull is hard to move.
Yes.
So, like,
and there's
let her be.
A method to your madness, too. I always say with Taurus placements, like, you might not understand it in that moment, but they have dug their heels for a reason. Okay, so Aries, Venus.
Oh, my gosh.
Sorry that we kept you waiting.
Yes. And some of these keywords were teased earlier, but, like, there is a level of simple.
Yeah.
There is a day to night.
Like the newness of it all. It's like blank canvas.
I feel like they can sometimes go very, like, black tube top, white pant, like, just like, I don't know. There's also like a
like element.
Yeah, like I see like surfer girl, like it's like sporty, and I think Aries unfortunately, and I feel like they get so sick of this, gets like, you're going to wear flames and you're going to be a boxer and you're so active. And I do think that there's something with being able to move
Exactly.
and being able to
movement.
like have fun and like, I don't know, I used to be a raver, like, you know, having like those raver roots of like, oh my God, this is something I can look sexy in and enjoy, but also enjoy the party and not make it all about the presentation.
Right. Like me, what I'm doing, it's almost like they don't need the stage. The world is their stage. Mm-hmm. And I think especially because Aries is tied to the body, like the physical vessel, to muscles as a whole, that it's like, you know, regardless of your physical strength or your ability, it's just feeling at home in your body. Mm-hmm. And I think they really thrive off of hobbies and interests and clothing that gets them to a state of presentness. Almost like I get the visual of a float tank. Like everything's so perfectly curated at that point that you don't even have to think about the fact that you have a body. Like it's so interwoven in the experience.
They are very head up because they are also like the face and head. So like even maybe putting that extra care into like your skin or, you know, like the little adornments
SPF.
around your face. The SPF. And yeah, there's like a breezy,
Glasses.
like, I know I can be like girlifying everything, but apply this to however you relate. But there is like an easy breezy, cool girl vibe that I think Aries can do so well, where it's like, it's not like they are simpler is better, maybe take something off, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're a maximalist at heart and you're Aries and you're like, maybe you're up with like a lot of other Sag energy or something, go maximalist. Yeah. But if that's been feeling like it's weighing you down, how can you like unload that so you can be a little more like fiery spark plug Aries that gets to like bop around?
Well, and there's some people too, like I think about like a Jenna Lyons who has like her signature glasses. And I'm like, I could very much see that with Aries Venus energy where it's like, let me have something that takes my mind off of how I'm being perceived because that's not the point of my existence.
Totally.
I love it.
Yeah, all Venuses have cool things they care about that brings so much to the fashion plate, the relationship plate, the art plate. Life. Yes. And so, and yeah, you'll probably have all these other different signs and you will. I mean, unless you're super conjunct, but we can talk about that. But it's just an element of you and not all of you. And that's, yeah, and as you heard earlier when I said my friend was calling me about, do I have to dress like my midheaven? I thought it was the rising. I thought it was Venus. It's like, it's you and it's all of it. And it's also in terms of like calling in money or love or whatever. Yeah, there's like a lot of power in that. Like Venus is green, like as we can relate it. It's Friday is Venus's day. Like there's stuff and ways you can work with Venus, talismans or whatever, that doesn't have to be like, well, I'm insert stereotype of this sign. And it makes sense, you know, the signs have stereotypes in their stories and this is how we talk about it and learn. But astrology is both a science of the stars, but also a social science of like, well, how do you feel as a Scorpio Venus? You know, how do I feel as a Taurus Venus? And what is impacting all of that?
Yeah. And how it applies to the modern day too, which is why you only want to attract money and opportunities and friends and lovers that are happening when you are your authentic self. Like getting people and things under the guise of being anybody but you is not sustainable. So hopefully this episode on Venus through the signs has been helpful.
I hope
and
so.
I would love, Stevie, for you to come back so we could talk about Venus through the houses, Venus aspecting.
We simply must.
There's so much more to talk about, but tell the people where they can find you.
Okay, you should totally check out my Substack, starquality.substack.com. It's a podcast and newsletter, and it's all things woo, astro, pop culture. And I'm a spaghetti_witch on pretty much all socials, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Where are we on social nowadays? I don't know. Find me on those places. But if you can only go one place, come to Substack, and I'm sure we'll all be linked.
All right. We will talk with you guys soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.